So, the Finance Ministry detailing a 36 billion rand relief package for businesses and South Africans following looting and destruction. Joining us now to discuss what came out of that briefing and how far is going to go to support those businesses and South Africans is Investec Group economist Annabel Bishop, who joins us now via Zoom. Annabel, thank you so much for your time on the Midday View. So 36 billion rand, that's if you exclude the 2.65 billion rand that's going to be reprioritized. How far do you think this is going to go in assisting businesses and South Africans?
Yes, hi. Look, I think out of the 36 billion, 27 billion is going to be for the socioeconomic grant. So that really brings us closer to a figure of about 9 billion. And of course, listening to everything that was said in the minister's address and, a number of other speakers as well, it looks like there's going to be, about 4 billion or so given to SASRIA to help with the National Treasury said to help with their payments as well. I think, the point is that while there is sufficient, there's going to be significant help given to businesses, and particularly I think, key here is small traders, informal traders. There's a couple of 100,000 reported in one of the media reports. I'm not sure how accurate that was, that saw their businesses destroyed. This is absolutely key to alleviate poverty and obviously to lift up, economic growth, to try and return to where it was in these areas that obviously were most afflicted. But I think overall, if you have a look at the impact on businesses at large, and here we're talking about the factories, the warehouses, I think in the address again just now, they were saying about 15 to 20 billion estimated needed for insurance payouts, perhaps with SASRIA, able to provide 15 billion. And again, I think that's where, the National Treasury contribution makes up. I think overall, the amounts are probably not sufficient to account for all the loss from business. And of course, what it doesn't account for as well is loss of trading days, loss of revenue. And that also talks to the loss of fiscal revenue. We obviously have only had one quarter of the fiscal year. That's the second quarter of our calendar year. But of course, obviously, if we look forwards, there's still 3 more quarters to go. But this quarter that we're in now is going to see a sharp reduction in tax take, while at the same time, a sharp increase in expenditure pressures.
Yeah. Let's look at businesses that are not particularly insured. The finance minister indicating that 3.9 billion rand will be provided to SASRIA to respond to claims from businesses. Small businesses that were possibly not even registered, that were not paying tax, may also benefit here. The finance minister says money will be prioritized from the small business development. Money will be prioritized from the DTIC as well. We didn't really get details on which businesses are going to benefit from this fund and how they can go about applying for the fund.
And I think, that's really the key point. So many people's livelihoods depend on this. Tiny little businesses. And of course, the private sector, one mustn't forget, has been helping out. Many charity organizations have been providing food. Of course, we've also seen many collections to try and get tiny little businesses back on their feet. But I think, overall, to try and, as you correctly identify, find all these individuals who saw their businesses destroyed. I mean, how even do you go about it? If their premises have been destroyed. The big problem with the violence of these riots, this political unrest, was the sheer destruction we had to the economy itself. And of course, here we're talking about burning businesses to the ground, burning people's livelihoods to the ground, absolute wanton destruction. And, this is going to be the huge difficulty going forwards. And yes, that it needs to be, urgently addressed and targeted. Jobs need to be saved. Companies need to continue. And of course, as well, don't forget investor sentiment. We need even more investment in the economy. We need more businesses and more rebuilding. So I think this is a good start, but I think we are on a long path to try and repair the damage. I mean, remember, first of all, you have to, as you correctly said, identify the businesses, pay out the insurance or assist those who are not insured. And then, of course, as well, we have to see the rebuilding coming through. Some businesses may not want to rebuild in the areas where they saw such destruction and looting. And then, of course, bring up investor confidence, business confidence to try and pick up economic growth and see more investment and address those concerns and ultimately move to strong economic growth overall so that we can have more sustainability and job creation, stronger job creation, but also in government finances. And, of course, remember, the second disaster after COVID-19 comes after, years of looting and damage to the government finances themselves from state capture. So it's almost like a boil that's been lanced, but it doesn't mean we're at the end now. In fact, we probably have a long road ahead.
Yeah, and just lastly, we're out of time, Annabel. Obviously, we'll wait for the Finance Ministry to approach Parliament, because they did say that when you are appropriating funds, there are parliamentary processes that you have to follow. Quickly on the 350 relief grant, you've indicated, and as the Finance Minister said, 27 billion rand. That's how much it's going to cost. Then the question is this a precursor to the basic income grant? The Finance Minister said, I don't know, but this is a debate that we need to have.
Yes, and I think, if you have a look at where we are, we saw very good tax revenue collection in the first quarter of this fiscal year, again, to avoiding confusion, it's the April to June quarter. And of course, that really means there's been more money in the kitty because of the strong global economic recovery, the strong lift in commodity prices. The Minister outlined the improvement in the tax take from mining corporates and financial corporate tax as well. All of this has fed through into more money in the kitty. VAT returns are up as well. So in other words, we're lucky this came in a good period, but there'll be times when South African government finances will not be in a good period, will not be more revenue than expected, if you see what I'm saying, being collected. There'll be less revenue being collected. So while we're able to extend this temporary grant now, in order to make it permanent, we need to actually move away from these factionalization, this damage that's been done to the economy, yes, but also blockages in the system which have been preventing growth economic reforms from going ahead, free market reforms. We need to actually see the state and the reforms really focused on strongly pushing forwards the ability for private sector to actually grow and increase its size in the economy and to employ more people, so the tax takes can go up, so corporate revenues can go up, and so government finance can be in a more sustainable position to eventually be able to afford, as you said, a basic income grant or other, socioeconomic support measures which are needed in South Africa.
Yeah, look, it's a debate that we'll continue having. What the minister did indicate is the president actually pushed them to push this 350 unemployment grant to at least towards the end of the financial year next year, and they were only offering about 6 months in the beginning. But that's a conversation we'll continue to have. Thank you so much for your time. That's Investec Group economist Annabel Bishop. Now, Ian